A new colleague of ours, Arthur Staple, joins us. His show, The Tri-State Hockey Pod with Mike Rupp and our boy Johnny Lazarus, drops twice a week here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. Arthur, how have the first couple of episodes with our boy Laz and Rupper been?
They've been great. Even in spite of Laz's exuberance, we've managed to rein him in a little bit. His Rangers are kind of trailing the pack of the three teams that we talk about for the moment. I don't think that's going to last, but yeah, it's been fun. Two guys that I've known for a long time, and good to just chop it up and talk about three teams that have been really interesting so far this year.
Yeah, and the Islanders more on the surprising side of that. I think for a lot of hockey fans, like, again, Matthew Schaefer was a first overall pick. Everyone knew there was upside there, but he's kind of blown a lot of hockey fans' minds with just how impressive he's been. Has he outperformed expectations, maybe even inside that Islanders organization a little bit?
I mean, beyond what you could have imagined. You talk to any amateur scout or draft expert, from what they'd seen, obviously he didn't have a lot of stuff on tape because he missed so much of last season. But yeah, he was kind of the consensus number one pick. But I don't even think we've seen at any level that he's played at this kind of command of an offense, the way that he's been able to really drive a lot of what the Islanders are doing. This is Patrick Waugh has been, since was named coach, kind of butted heads with Lou Lamoriello about the style that he wanted to play. He wanted to be a much more aggressive, up-tempo team. And you looked at the Islanders roster before the season and you said, hey, you just don't see it. You just can't imagine a world where they could play this quickly. And then you plug Schaefer in, and he's really taken this system that they're trying to do and run with it, not just in terms of his skating, which we know is elite, but getting his shot through. He's got 4 power play goals as an 18-year-old running their top power play, and the Islanders' power play has been brutal for years. You saw it last night with the power play goal and how that affects things because they go 6-on-5 late when they're down a goal. He has the puck. 2 Vegas forwards go right to him, leaving Matthew Barzal open for a one-timer to tie it. So he's having the kind of impact that you'd think maybe a guy who's got 6-7 years on his second contract would have. And I think the Islanders are just completely blown away, like everybody else is, that this young guy who just turned 18 a couple months ago is doing what he's doing.
Yeah, Arthur, it's pretty impressive, right, for an 18-year-old. But an 18-year-old, when I came in the league, is a lot different than the 18-year-olds now, right? They come in with so much confidence and they make plays and they do things that weren't really accepted then. Does this speed up the timeline for the Islanders, where they're kind of in that rebuild, but now all of a sudden you get this one player who is a franchise player? Do they start to think, hey, we're closer now to getting back to the promised land and try to speed up that process?
I don't know if you can rush it, Carter. That you look at their roster and it's a little bit of a mismatch. They've got they've got a pretty large majority of over 30 guys, expiring contracts for guys like Anders Lee, who's been their captain for a long time, and JG Pageau, who might have interest with other teams as they get towards the deadline if the Islanders aren't in the race. You've got Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock, who still have a couple years left on their deals, but can still play at a high level. Again, I think they went into this season with a very open mind for Matthew Darche and Patrick Waugh about what it was going to be. You hope to see even half of what you're getting from Schaefer, and you hope to see rebound from Matthew Barzal, who was injured most of last season, rebound from some of their veterans. But if you didn't get it, you knew that there was some flexibility there. You knew that there was an opportunity to be a seller, to kind of, again, stockpile, because really over the summer, in addition to winning that first overall pick, the trade that they made with the Canadiens, sending Noah Dobson up there, getting back Emil Heineman, who's been another huge surprise for them playing on the top line, and those 2 first-round picks where they got a couple guys in Keishon Aitchison and Victor Eklund, who most people thought were going to go top 10. You've got some college players that are going to be coming through here in the next couple of years. Danny Nelson out of Notre Dame, Cole Iserman at Boston University. So suddenly their prospect pool is looking a lot better than it's looked at any time really during the Lou Lamoriello era. So you do have those futures. You're not quite as worried about the present now, but I think it feels maybe like a bonus, like gravy to Matthew Darche. If they can make the playoffs, which is always the goal here, since they moved into UBS Arena, they've had 2 first-round exits and 2 times that they've missed. The owners are desperate for some gates there and to get some enthusiasm going in this new building. So I feel like they were really open to plan A, plan B, however far down you wanted to go, to see which path they took. And I think what's opening up for them right now is Schaefer is much more fully formed than they thought, but they still have these roster spots where maybe they could upgrade or kind of swap out older guys for younger guys at some point. So I think they're still in that evaluation period for Matthew Darche in his first season as GM. seeing what they've got, seeing if they can put together a run the East. No one really scares you in the East right now. I heard you guys talking about the Leaf struggles. There's some teams in Toronto, Florida, Washington, the Rangers, who've kind of got, slow starts for teams that you'd think would be closer to the top. And if the Islanders can get in, they feel like they've got good goaltending. They've got kind of this wild card in Schaefer. They've got some revived veterans. I think you just sort of see where it goes and not really make too many commitments this early.
You know what? Like Sorokin's been good, right? Like, he was a guy last year at times. It was a tough go, right? Where this year, he just rattled off a bunch of wins in a row here. He's playing better. Is the impact of Patrick Waugh being there and the process of what goes on have impact on these two goalies? I just didn't know if that's something that gets communicated to the media there.
I think Patrick Waugh, being Patrick Waugh, has an impact on everybody. I remember talking to guys a couple years back when Lou brought him in, and it just kind of marveling at this guy that everybody knows, no matter how young or how old you are as a hockey player. You've seen Patrick Waugh play. You've seen the kind of fiery character he had as a player. You've probably seen some clips of him even coaching in juniors. And there's guys in this team, Anthony Duclair, who played for him in junior. So I think people know the name and know the presence and know the resume. So that has an impact in and of itself. As a goalie, I think sometimes it can have the opposite effect. I don't know how you feel about it, but he's a guy who, if he's giving you advice, you better take it, because this guy is, one of the 2 or 3 best goalies of all time. And maybe it's not what the modern goalie is used to. But I think for Sorokin, I think we've seen in the last couple of years, even when he's had a successful year, he's worn down a lot. I think last 2 years, he really, Lane Lambert's, the end of his run as a coach in that November, December, a lot of overuse for Sorokin. And I don't think that he was physically up to being a 60 start guy. I think the sweet spot for him is like in the low 50s, which is why they, with Semyon Varlamov kind of out of the mix, who knows if he's ever coming back. They made the smart move to go out and get David Riddick, who's a guy who's played some games in the NHL and has looked okay as a backup, to allow Sorokin to kind of get in a groove. They made a change of goalie coach, Piero Greco, who was brought in with Mitch Korn back when Lou was in charge. He's out. Sergei Namovs, who was Sorokin's goalie coach over in the KHL, is now in as his day-to-day guy. So I think there's lots of little things here at work that are trying to put Sorokin in the best possible position to succeed. And really, these last few games, we've seen him really succeed. He's never played very well at Madison Square Garden. Pitches a shutout on his buddy Igor Shesterkin in a big win for the Islanders last weekend. I think that's a good way to kind of jumpstart for him a run that he's had. Like you said, 4-0-1. I think he's under 2 goals against, well over 90 save percentage. This is where the Islanders need him to be, because they don't defend very well. The way that they've opened things up in their system, and they're kind of mishmash a little bit beyond the top pair and beyond Schaefer, they give up a lot of chances. So they need him to be that guy who's going to be able to stop, 70, 80, 90% of those high danger chances to give them a chance to win. And he's doing it of late.
I'm hoping this next question makes as much sense coming out of my mouth as it does in my head. But the 3 teams that you guys cover on the pod, the Rangers, the Devils, and the Islanders, if you were a betting man and you kind of had to rank the odds board of their chances of bringing a Stanley Cup back to the area, how would you rank them? Because obviously this year you would probably have the Rangers and Devils both ahead of the Islanders, but the Rangers are kind of looks like moving towards the end of a competitive window. The Islanders could maybe put themselves in a better spot with that young group going forward. So it's not this year. It's a bigger picture, multi-year question. Rank those 3 teams on their chances of bringing a cup home.
I mean, I got to put the Devils at the top, not just because of what they've been doing so far this year. It's a really good lineup. I got some questions about goaltending. They get hit with the injury bug, it seems, every year hard, and they're getting hit hard again with Brett Pesce and Dougie Hamilton out. Hamilton will be back soon. Pesce's a little bit longer term, which is a tough blow for them. But when you look at the Hughes brothers, you look at Jesper Bratt, who might be the most underrated player in the NHL still, even though he's reached really star status for me. Nico Hischier, Timo Meyer, Dawson Mercer. They've got probably the best top 9 in the East right now, with Florida, all of Florida's absences. I feel like this Jersey team is ready to pop. They had the 8-game winning streak that really showed a lot. They're still a few tweaks away, I think, from being a serious cup contender, but I think they're right there. And maybe if you drop down, Schaefer definitely changes the game a little bit. The Rangers, I think if we're looking for a team that could get on a run and get hot, I think the roster right now favors the Rangers. They do have Igor Shesterkin, who's got a couple of long playoff runs under his belt the last few years. And they do still have elite players like Panarin, Adam Fox, Mika Zibanejad, JT Miller, and the new captain, Vic Trocheck, who's just come back and kind of sparked their offense a bit. But I feel like if you're betting a little longer term, the Rangers probably overtake, or the Islanders probably overtake the Rangers, because the Islanders have Schaefer. They have a lot of good stuff coming. You know, they might need to reset in the next couple of years. They still have Barzal signed long-term. Bo Horvat, who not a lot of people are talking about, could end up on the Canadian Olympic team with as good as he's playing so far this year. I know Vancouver Canucks fans don't want to hear his name too much, but he's been awesome so far. And they do have Sorokin. And if he can get hot and stay healthy and stay fresh, you know, I think in 2 or 3 years, the Islanders roster is going to look vastly different than it does now. And I'm really intrigued to see some of these prospects kind of come through and what they can become. I don't know if Patrick Waugh is the guy that's going to bring them up to a certain level, but if, you know, you could see them in a couple of years being like an Anaheim was going out of last season with a mix of some young guys and some decent vets, and maybe a coach away from putting it all together, at least in the short term, the way the Ducks have done under Joel Quenneville. So, you know, if I'm a betting man right now, I'm putting my money on the Devils, but I think the Islanders are kind of creeping up that ranking a little bit.
Don't worry about upsetting Canucks fans. They all turned off the show when we roasted their offseason 15 minutes ago. Arthur, appreciate your time. Tri-State Hockey Pod twice a week right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. You can also find his work at Hockey Night NY. Thanks for popping on.
You got it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.